Welcome to Sense of Style. I'm Stuart. One of the things that I've learned over time is if you are a sheep, you're going to get eaten. If you don't think for yourself and just follow the crowd, it's not going to work out well for you. And basically that's because you're not thinking. You're just doing what everyone else does. It's easy. It doesn't require any thought or courage. But if you're a wolf, if you think for yourself, you do what's right for you, it's going to be much better in the long run. Now, this applies to fragrance as much as anything if you're going to wear freshies in warm weather and vanilla in cool weather. I mean, maybe freshies don't work well on your skin, or maybe vanilla doesn't suit your vibe. You got to think like a wolf. If you think like a wolf, you're going to find the vibe and the fragrances that are right for you. I have 8 great fragrances for you wolves out there today. Fragrance number 1 was created by a wolf. And Nick Minardo describes herself as being angry all the time. She also has a reputation for making fiery, burnt, or toasted fragrances, but she's not just a wolf. She's an extremely successful wolf that a lot of men might not be aware of. She's behind Dior's Hypnotic Poison. That is the Dior Homme Intense of women's fragrances. For the last 4 years, it's been the #1 fragrance of all time for women. She's also behind Boss Bottle, the original fragrance that turned men's fragrances on its head. They brought her back for the 25th anniversary, and a couple of years later, she came out with this. Hugo Boss Bottle Absolu, and the core of this fragrance is a toasted leather feel. It's got her signature all over it. So it's a combination of patchouli, myrrh, incense, and leather. It's got that burnt feel to it, and it's been a phenom. This is often compared to Parfum de Marly's Carla. Now, I like Carla, but I struggle with this for one reason only, and I'm bringing this up in case other people do as well. This has a chameleon note, Divana. Now, Divana can come across differently on different people's skins because it's got so many facets to it. It's got a sweet facet. It's got a fruity facet. It's got a boozy facet. It also has an herbal facet. So on my skin, this comes across as fruity. So this comes across as a little too fruity for my comfort. But all in all, I mean, this has been, as I said, a phenom. The performance here, this is labeled a Parfum Intense. I've heard of EDP Intense. This is the first Parfum Intense I heard of. I thought it was just a gimmick, but it is not. The performance here is astounding. This is an innovative scent in that it's sweet, but it's not sweet in a vanillic way. There's no vanilla in this. In fact, there's no traditional sweet notes. They use a heavy patchouli to give it almost a chocolatey feel. But the most important thing, it's masculine, definitely a wolf fragrance. Fragrance number 2 is released for the 50th anniversary of an iconic fragrance within the brand. Always look for that if you're looking for something of high quality. This is EDP Ambree Gentleman's Society. It came as the 50th anniversary from the release of this. This is the original Givenchy Gentleman. It was released in 1974. And the funny thing is, both fragrances do the exact same thing. This is a patchouli-based fragrance, and patchouli was really popular in the 70s. There were a lot of hippies wearing patchouli oil, but this cleaned up the excesses of the patchouli and turned what was a very youthful scent into a more gentlemanly fragrance. This does the same thing with the modern popular note of vanilla, which again is really popular among young people. It takes that vanilla note and it makes it more gentlemanly. It makes it different. I saw the vanilla note initially and I rolled my eyes. I was worried about it, but this has Peru Balsam. Now, Peru Balsam has vanillic notes, but it also has an earthy quality and it has almost like a spicy cinnamon feel to it. So you mix Peru Balsam with vanilla and it tones the vanilla right down and it creates almost an Ambree feel. This is a cleaned up version of vanilla. It's not a gourmand by any stretch of the imagination. You're also going to get a tobacco note. You're going to get things like orris, which is a little powdery, very gentlemanly, and a lot of woods. There are 2 vetiver notes here. You're going to get the narcissus note as well. So you've got the core of the society line, but you've also got a lot of interesting things going on. This is the least sweet tobacco I've ever tried. It is more gentlemanly, and you know what? I think it's also more masculine at the same time as well. Fragrance number 3 is an extremely expensive fragrance that is notoriously difficult to clone. It has subtleties to the scent that make it hard to recreate. So if you smell it in public, it is definitely a wolf move because you're going to smell super wealthy. This is Santal 33 by Le Labo, and without question, the origin story of this fragrance is the weirdest I've ever heard by far. For starters, Le Labo is actually an American brand. It's created by two Frenchmen living in New York City. Initially, they made candles, and they really struggled to start. A lot of their candles weren't selling, so they started dumping them to local hotels. They had a candle called Santal 26, and the Gramercy Park Hotel bought a ton of these candles and used them in their lobby. It had a reputation after a while for the best smelling hotel in New York, and so they kept going back to Le Labo and buying them. As they did it, the price kept going up, and initially, Santal 26 was 70% of the revenue of Le Labo. It actually made the house. Now, Frank Vogel was the perfumer, and he kept saying, look, turn it into a fragrance that people wear. The two French founders were like, no way, it's not going to work on skin. In the 2010 World Cup, Fabrice Pinot, one of the founders of Le Labo, was watching TV at a local bar in Manhattan. And he noticed one of the guys next to him smelled really good. And since he made fragrance, he wanted to find out, what are you wearing? He went up to the guy, and the guy goes, well, this guy was really sheepish because he goes, I'm wearing a room spray. I got it around the corner at this local boutique, which actually turned out to be Le Labo's headquarters. They turned the candle into a room spray. And as soon as Pinot realized that it was his own scent, they reformulated it. They turned it into a skin scent. They called it Santal 33, and it has been iconic. Le Labo, definitely a wolf scent from then on. This is difficult to clone because a lot of people smell it and think it smells like pickle juice. I was like that, but after a while I started to realize that the powdery subtleness of this really did work, and it really made sense to me. And so yeah, you can't capture, or it's very difficult to capture that subtlety with a clone. Like fragrance number 1 and number 2, fragrance number 4 is a sweet fragrance. It's just not a cheap fragrance because it's not a gourmandy vanilla. In fact, there's no vanilla at all. This is Prada Luna Rossa Black. And I think the original fragrance, Absolu, the number 1 fragrance on this list, that comes across as sweet but masculine. But number 2 and this come across as sweet but in a gentlemanly way. There's a subtlety. There's a minimalistic, almost intellectual feel to this. It really does reflect the house of Prada and Daniela Andrie's style. It really comes through here. The lengths that Ambree went to here to keep it sophisticated rather than heavy sweet, you do not see this in men's fragrances. They use the note of coumarin, which is not the full tonka bean. You hardly ever see that in men's fragrances. You see it occasionally in women's fragrances, but essentially what you're doing is you're taking out the powdery, mildly sweet element. But you're not doing the full tonka bean, so it's not going to come across as not even a regular tonka note, like not super sweet and syrupy. There is an amber note here that helps it out as well. But this is also, even just within the Luna Rossa line, this is very different. The first 4 fragrances in the Luna Rossa line, I mean, the line was built around lavender. That was the core of the line. There's no lavender here at all. Ambree decided to make this a musky scent, so she used Angelica, which is not as fresh as lavender. It's got a green, almost earthy quality to it, and very musky, pulls it down quite a bit. You add musk, of course you've got the amber as well. It comes across as super classy. Fragrance number 5, I have to admit, it's a little bit of a chic fragrance. It's not entirely a wolf. It does kind of fit in with modern trends. But if you're looking to get something from the Scandal line from Jean Paul Gaultier, you want to go with the Parfum because they tone this down quite a bit from the EDT, especially in the dry down. The open here is still kind of sweet, But look, this is a really good fragrance. I wanted to include it in this video. I've noticed how many times Ash from Jensen's will put this in his videos lately. He is to me anyway, the #1 guy for recommending really good fragrances, and I really do enjoy it. So yeah, it's a little bit cheap, especially in the open, but it does get better in the dry down. The Scandal line was created to be the Le Male line for Gen Z, so it's meant to be sweeter. I don't like the note breakdown they've got here. If you go to Wiki Parfum, you'll get what's actually in this, or at least what it smells like. The note breakdown that they give us is essentially a lot of geranium and tonka and sandalwood. Wiki Parfum shows the actual caramel note, which I really do think is here, although again, it's toned down. There's also some sage and mandarin and some extra woods. I think there's vetiver and cedar in this as well. So it's not just 3 notes, but that geranium note I do think plays a big role, because that is a fresh herbal note that definitely takes the sweetness and tones it down a bit, but it doesn't really kick in until later on. Performance is excellent here. Yeah, you don't want to be a wolf every day, I don't think. Fragrance number 6 is my signature scent. It goes back to the mid-90s. It is a niche scent that's reasonably priced. It's Lorenzo Villoresi's Musk. Probably the best find ever that I had in fragrances. The only reason I bought this was because this was seen as Brad Pitt's signature scent. I can see why now. It is phenomenal. I'm surprised. Given the price, it's perfectly reasonable. It's difficult to find now, but I had no problems 6 months ago. It's a rose-based fragrance, and it comes from the mid-90s. So again, it's going to have a very mild amount of sweetness, but it's mostly a lot of rose and a lot of musk. So it's got a very different vibe. There's sandalwood in the base as well. So it's got a little bit of creaminess, but mostly it's the powderiness of the rose that comes through. Very gentlemanly, not the kind of fragrance that the sheep are wearing these days. Definitely something everyone should look into. Even within the context of Italian perfumery, this one is strange. It is handmade in a little apartment, actually, in Florence. Florence is not known for a fragrance place. In Italy, it's either Milan or Rome. So yeah, this one's definitely way outside the box, very different. But of all the fragrances in their house, in Lorenzo Villoresi's house, this is the one to get. This is magnificent. Wearing woody fragrances in this day and age is definitely a wolf move. This is Encre Noire Sport, a vetiver fragrance. And you talk about woody. This is super woody. There are 2 vetiver notes here. And it's funny because this is the kind of fragrance you would wear at work. And when I think of the Wolf of Wall Street, I mean, guaranteed the guy was wearing vetiver on the regular, and this is a great vetiver fragrance. This one, probably more than any fragrance, including Santal 33, I really struggled with. I did not get this for the longest time. Nothing to do with the vetiver. I have no problem with it, but this has a very strong and powerful cypress note that when you combine it with the citrus off the top, the bergamot and the lemon, it's almost too fresh. And it really did smell like pickle juice. I actually pulled this out of the garbage. I'd thrown it out at one stage. I didn't know how to wear vetiver. I didn't know about the clean minimalist feel, and that's how you wear it, and that's how it works. I get it now. I'm glad I fished it out of the garbage. Performance is really solid. And now, I do understand the Encre Noire line, but a lot of people, a lot of sheep, won't. Finally, we've got another vetiver scent. This is Guerlain Le Boisee, and this is a vetiver scent that, unlike Terre d'Hermès, which is a woody citrus that comes across with an orangey feel, this one comes across as having more lime. The lime is backed up with mint and a grass note, so this has got a green vetiver feel to it. I like the feel of this one. The problem here is this has been discontinued. It's very difficult to get. As you can see, I have a tester here. Performance is really good. Really enjoy this scent, super underrated. But yeah, Guerlain vetiver is something that I'm considering getting, but because I have this, I'm a little cautious. I don't know if I need that much vetiver, but yeah, if you can find this at a reasonable price, this would be a good purchase. So yeah, I mean, to me, a wolf is just about doing your own thing and looking after who you are rather than fitting in and being a sheep. I can't stand people that do what everyone else does. It's just like, to me, I find it lazy. I find it boring too. And yeah, it's really important to me. I don't know about being a wolf, but definitely I do not want to be a sheep. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys.